Dear students, welcome to the session on control systems in fermenter. We will discuss about control of temperature, pressure, aeration, agitation, foam and pH in a fermenter. We know a fermentation requires defined environmental conditions to be maintained for the formation of maximum biomass and product. To achieve this, it is necessary to control all operating conditions such as temperature, pH, degree of agitation, oxygen concentration, foaming, etc. The control of these parameters require careful monitoring of all these parameters. Physical parameters which are generally controlled are temperature, pressure, agitator shaft power, RPM, foam, flow rate, etc. And chemical parameters which are generally controlled are pH, redox, oxygen concentration, exit gas analysis, medium analysis, etc. A monitoring equipment or sensor are linked to a suitable control system and they function to control these variables. There are three main classes of sensors. Type 1 includes the sensors which penetrate into the interior of the fermenter. Examples are pH electrodes, dissolved oxygen electrodes, etc. The second type of sensors are those which operate on samples which are continuously withdrawn from the fermenter. Examples are exhaust gas analyzers. The third type of sensors are those sensors which do not come into contact with the fermentation broth or gases. Examples are tachometers, load cells, etc. There are three types of sensors in relation to their application for process control. They are inline sensors, online sensors, and offline sensors. In inline sensor, the sensor is an integrated part of the fermentation equipment. The measured value obtained from this sensor is directly used for the process control. In online sensor, the sensor here also is an integrated part of the fermentation equipment, but the measured value cannot be used directly for the control. An operator should be there who must enter the measured values into the control system for enabling the process control. In offline sensor, here also the sensor is not a part of the fermentation equipment. The values are measured by an operator and these measured values should be entered into the control system for the process control. Coming to the various parameters which are controlled for the smooth functioning of a fermenter for maximum production. The first one is temperature. The temperature is one of the most important parameter to be monitored and controlled in a fermentation process. It may be measured by using different types of thermometers such as mercury in glass thermometer, bimetallic thermometer, pressure bulb thermometer, thermocouples, metal resistant thermometers or thermistors. Now we will discuss a few types of thermometers. The first one is mercury in glass thermometer. These are generally used in small lab scale fermenters. This is highly fragile. So in larger fermenters, it has to be inserted into a thermometer pocket in the vessel. And this delays the measurement of the vessel temperature. So this type of thermometer cannot be used for automatic control or recording of temperature in a fermenter. The next type is electrical resistant thermometers. They work on the principle that electrical resistance of metals changes with temperature. In this type of thermometers, the bulb of the instrument contains a resistant element, either a mica framework or a ceramic framework. Around this framework, the sensing element will be wound. Generally, a platinum wire is used as the sensing element. If you are using mica framework, it provides very accurate measurement. And the ceramic framework is used when we need to measure the temperature faster, but it will provide a less accurate measurement only. The reading from an electrical resistance thermometer is obtained by the use of a Wheatstone bridge circuit. This type of thermometer gives readings at a higher accuracy at a faster rate. The next type of thermometer is thermistor. These are semiconductors made from specific mixtures of pure oxides of iron, nickel or other metals. In a semiconductor, there will be a large change in resistance with a small change in temperature. Here also, the temperature reading is obtained by using a Wheatstone bridge. Thermistors are relatively cheap and stable. Coming to temperature control. In any fermenter, heat will be generated by microbial activity and also through mechanical agitation. If the heat generated by these two processes, the microbial activity and mechanical agitation, is not ideal for the particular process, then we may have to either add heat or remove heat from the system. On a laboratory scale, extra heat is generally provided by placing the fermenter in a thermostatically controlled bath, or by the use of internal heating coils, or by using a heating jacket through which hot water is circulated. In larger vessels, internal coils are used through which cold water is circulated, since in larger vessels, generally the heat generated will be higher than required. The next variable which has to be measured and controlled in a fermenter is the pressure. It is one of the crucial measurements that should be done in a fermenter, especially due to safety concerns. Industrial and laboratory fermenters are designed to withstand a specific working pressure. So, the equipment should be fitted with devices that will sense, indicate, record and control the pressure. The measurement of pressure is also important in sterilization of the fermenter. A pressure could be measured by using different types of pressure gauges. They are Bourdon tube pressure gauge, diaphragm gauge, piezoelectric transducer, etc. Bourdon tube pressure gauge. One of the standard pressure measuring sensors is the Bourdon tube pressure gauge. With increasing pressure, a partial coil having an electrical cross section in the device gradually straightens out. Using a geared sector and a pinion movement, the pressure reading can be obtained from a Bourdon tube pressure gauge. Next is diaphragm gauge. When a vessel or pipe is to be operated under aseptic conditions, then we use diaphragm gauge. The changes in pressure will cause movements of the diaphragm capsule, which is monitored by a mechanically levered pointer, which will give the pressure measurements. We can measure pressure by using piezoelectric transducers. Certain solid crystals, such as quartz, have an asymmetrical electric charge distribution. Any change in the shape of the crystal due to pressure changes will produce an electrical change in the charge on the crystal. This is the piezoelectrical effect. So the pressure can be measured by means of electrodes attached to the crystal. So after pressure measurements, we need to control the pressure. During normal operation of a fermenter, a positive pressure is maintained for the maintenance of aseptic conditions. This pressure needs to be raised during a steam sterilization cycle. So there will be changes in a pressure during the operation of a fermenter. So the correct pressure in different parts of a fermenter is maintained by the use of regulatory valves and pressure gauges. A fermenter also should have safety valves for pressure control. Safety valves are incorporated at various places in fermenters and in all the pipes associated with the fermenter. They are set to release the pressure as soon as the pressure increases above a specified working point to avoid any catastrophic events. The next important parameter to be controlled during fermentation is the control of agitation. In all fermenters, it is important to monitor the rate of rotation of the agitator. A tachometer is used for this. The tachometer use different detection mechanisms such as electromagnetic induction, voltage generation, light sensitivity or magnetic force. The rate of steering can be adjusted using AC slip motor coupled to a thyristor control or by use of gearboxes, by modifying the size of wheels and drive belts or by changing the drive motor. The use of these mechanisms depend upon the size of the fermenter. The laboratory fermenters will use AC slipper motor and large fermenters will use gearboxes or by modification of the wheels and drive belts or changing drive motor, etc. The next important parameter to be controlled during fermentation in a fermenter is oxygen concentration and the rate of aeration. Oxygen is normally supplied in a fermenter in the form of air, which is the cheapest available source. Laboratory scale cultures are aerated by means of the shake flask technique, where the culture in a conical flask is shaken on a platform. Pilot and industrial scale fermentations are normally carried out in a stirred aerated vessel or fermenter such as continuous stirred tank reactor. Some fermenters are designed to allow adequate oxygen transfer without agitation, and examples are airlift fermenters, bubble column fermenter, etc. Maximum biomass production can be achieved only by maintaining the dissolved oxygen concentration greater than the required critical level. If the dissolved oxygen concentration falls below this particular critical level, then the microbial cells will be metabolically disturbed, resulting in a financial loss of the fermentation. So we can measure and control the concentration of dissolved oxygen by using different types of electrodes. Steam sterilizable oxygen electrodes are available which can measure the partial pressure of the dissolved oxygen. During dissolved oxygen measurement, pressure changes can have a significant effect on the reading. A temperature change also influences the reading due to alteration in the permeability of the electrode membrane. The first type of dissolved oxygen electrode is the galvanic electrode. In small fermenters, the common electrodes used are galvanic electrodes, which are having a lead anode, silver cathode, and electrolyte as potassium hydroxide, potassium chloride, potassium bicarbonate, or potassium acetate. The sensing tip of the electrode is generally Teflon, polyethylene, or polystyrene membrane. This type of electrode works slowly and it is very sensitive to temperature fluctuations, and due to corrosion, it is having a limited life. The next type of dissolved oxygen probe is the polarographic electrode. It is more commonly used in pilot and industrial fermenters. These are bulkier than galvanic electrodes. These are having a silver anode and platinum or gold cathode, and the electrolyte will be aqueous potassium chloride. These electrodes are fast, very precise, and a pressure or temperature change does not affect a polarographic electrode reading much. The next type of dissolved oxygen electrode is the fluorometric oxygen sensor. Here, the sensor utilizes the differential quenching of a fluorescence lifetime of a chromophore. The fluorescence of this particular chromophore will be quenched by oxygen molecules, resulting in the reduction of fluorescence. Thus, it is possible to obtain a correlation between fluorescence lifetime and the partial pressure of the oxygen. By measuring the extent of fluorescence, we can get the concentration of dissolved oxygen in the fermentation media. This sensor is autoclavable. There is not much maintenance requirements needed. It is stable over longer periods of working and it gives reliable measurements. The next type of dissolved oxygen measurement is by using the tubing method. Here, the probe consists of a coil of Teflon or propylene within the fermenter through which a stream of helium or nitrogen is passed. The oxygen from the fermentation media will diffuse through the tubing into the inert gas stream, and the concentration of oxygen can be determined by using a paramagnetic gas analyzer. There will be 2 to 10 minute lag in measurement, and the tubing will withstand repeated sterilization cycle, and it can be used continuously for longer periods of time, for even up to 1000 hours. After measuring the dissolved oxygen concentration by means of the electrodes, if it is found to be low, if the dissolved oxygen concentration is found to be low, it should be increased by increasing the airflow rate, or by increasing the agitation rate, or by increasing both the airflow rate and the agitation rate. We may also increase the ratio of oxygen to nitrogen in the input gas. How agitation increases the oxygen transfer? It increases the oxygen transfer by increasing the area available for oxygen transfer, by dispersing the air in the culture fluid into small bubbles, by delaying the escape of air bubbles from the liquid, by preventing the coalescence of air bubbles, and also by decreasing the thickness of the liquid film at the gas-liquid interface by creating turbulence in the media. The next important parameter to be controlled during fermentation is foaming. We need to sense and control foaming, since the formation of foam is a difficult problem in many types of fermentation, and it creates serious problems such as contamination, loss of product, etc. Generally, an anti-foaming agent can be added to a fermenter when a culture starts to foam. For that, we need to sense the foaming. In a foam sensing and control unit, a probe is inserted through the top plate of the fermenter. The probe is generally a stainless steel rod, insulated except at the tip. It will be set at a defined level above the broth surface. When the foam rises and touches the probe tip, a current will be passed through the probe, with the foam acting as an electrolyte and the vessel acting as an earth. This current flow will actuate a pump or valve, which initiates the release of anti-foam into the fermenter for a few seconds depending upon the process time settings. Process timers are included to ensure that the anti-foam has enough time to be mixed into the medium and break down the foam before the probe senses the foam level again. A number of mechanical anti-foam devices are also available, such as discs, propellers, brushes, or hollow cones, which are attached to the agitator shaft above the broth surface. The foam is broken down when it is thrown by these mechanical anti-foam devices against the wall of the fermenter. Next is pH measurement and control. The pH of an actively growing culture will not remain constant. So, there is a need for pH measurement and control during the fermentation. Rapid changes in pH can be reduced by careful design of the media and also by incorporating buffers in the media. The pH may be further controlled by the addition of appropriate quantities of ammonia or sodium hydroxide or sulfuric acid accordingly depending upon the pH. The pH measurement is carried out using a combined glass reference electrode, which will be capable of withstanding repeated sterilization cycles. The electrodes are silver and silver chloride, and the electrolyte may be either potassium chloride or friscolite. The electrode will be connected to a pH meter or a controller, which generally works as an on-off controller. The controller will be set to a predetermined pH value, which is optimum for the fermentation process. When a signal is received that the pH is either below or above the preset value, a pinch valve is opened or a pump is started, and either acid or alkali is pumped into the fermenter for a short period of time. This period of time will be set by a process timer. This addition cycle is followed by a mixing cycle, which is controlled by another process timer, and during this mixing cycle, no acid or alkali will be added into the fermenter. After the mixing cycle, another pH reading will be done, through which we may know whether the adequate correction of the pH is done or not. Accordingly, further pH readings and further controls will be again performed. So how a control system works? The process parameters, which are measured using probes and sensors, are controlled using control loops. These control loops consist of four basic components. They are a measuring element, a controller, a final control element, and the process to be controlled. In the simplest type of control loop, in the feedback control, the measuring element senses a process property. For example, a pH sensor will measure the pH and it will generate a corresponding output signal. The controller compares this signal with a predetermined set point value and it will produce an output control signal. Now the final control element, it will receive the control signal and adjust the process by changing a valve opening or pump speed and causes the process property to be controlled to return to the set point. For example, in the case of pH, either acid or alkali is pumped into the fermentation media. These types of control may be done either through manual control or through automatic control. The automatic control systems are again of four different types. They are two position controls such as on or off, proportional controllers, integral controllers, and derivative controllers. So, in a control loop, during the feedback control, the measuring element senses a process property and generates a corresponding output signal. The controller compares this signal with the predetermined set point value and produces an output control signal. The final control element receives the control signal and adjusts the process by changing a valve opening or a pump speed and causes the process property to be controlled. These are various sensors working inside a fermenter for the proper process control. You can see pH meter, dissolved oxygen meter, mass flow controller, flow rate meter, exhaust gas pressure controller, biomass concentration meter, thermometer, etc. in this image. So, we were discussing about control systems in fermenter. Thank you so much for listening.